This will be underneath the professor.
Hey guys, happy FUENTE Friday. I'm sitting here with my good friend Jay Davis, J.R. Davis. I believe that you guys all know him as J.R. Davis.
Yeah, people call me JR for some reason. No one's ever called me that. It must be a Texas thing.
Because that's when it started, was when you got to Texas.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Ronnie David always calls me JR. I'm like, no one in my entire life has ever called me JR.
That's actually really funny. Oh boy. So, um, I guess you do attend these shows quite often, so you kind of know what we do here. We talk about the professor showed, and we also give away FUENTE Friday. And then, of course, I wanted to bring you on because I just wanted. I think that you're awesome, and you got some good information. And then also, I figured we could have a little fun.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So, how's your week been? First of all.
It's been good. Uh, Getting lots of cigars in. Uh, Same old. We had a nice change in the weather. Monday was like the last day that it was 100 degrees. So now we're starting to get like decent weather. So it gets into the low 90s during the day, but at night it gets into the 60s. So this is the closest thing we have to a spring or a fall in Dallas.
Wow. Yeah. So, yeah, that's crazy. So, because I just heard like last year, wasn't there like a huge freeze over that was like terrible for a lot of people in Texas?
Oh, that was February. It wasn't really that bad, but I'm from Chicago, so you know, people
They
just
just
like
weren't
to.
ready for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, small little issues like they make the roads a little different. Your tires are different. They don't have any salt, so little things like that can cause an issue, particularly if you grew up in Mississippi or Florida or California. You're not used to driving in that kind of weather. It shuts things down.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Well, of
and
course,
then
and then of course, go ahead.
oh, I said, then they don't bury the pipes here because all the clay in the soil, and then it doesn't usually get that cold. So a lot of people had broken pipe mains, or even if they maintained it, the city sometimes had broken mains.
Oh, yeah, that's not good. Sheesh. What's up, guys? So we've got Jeff in the house, Michael, Andrew. What up? Enjoy the smokes. Thank you. It is Fuente time. Mm-mm. And then we've got Yay Julian in the house and Tony. What's up, Tony? How are you? So yeah, I hear you. It feels like, but I mean, everything is changing right now. I'm in Tennessee, and usually I'm in Florida, and I haven't really been to Tennessee in a while. So like, it is like hot, and then I'm cold, and then you're hot. It's cold, and you don't know which day is going to be warmer. You got to check the weather every morning, where
Sounds
you're going to
familiar.
be. What is up, Henry
Okay,
Jose? What's?
found your feed.
I'm sorry. What now?
Oh, I said I finally found the feed.
Oh, okay.
Well, now I can see what people
Yeah.
say.
Right? I am now posting this onto some other things. You guys, if you will, please share this video with a friend or share it with a group. That'll be even better. I don't mind. I would appreciate it. And then we can have some fun because we're going to discuss the hot seat questions that I usually am doing on the professor show. So I'm going to ask you the hot seat questions, and then I'm like, maybe answer some too. I don't know. We'll just see how where it would take us, but they're always great for engaging conversation, interesting, engaging conversation.
Don't ask me
I would say.
questions because the first thing I'm going to ask about is your outfit in Atlanta.
Wait. Okay. So there's that first question. If I could ask you any per, really, man, it is like 6:30 at night. If I could ask you any hot seat question that you wouldn't want to answer, what would that be? Thank you,
Probably
Jeff.
things I've said or done when I used to drink too much. That's why I don't drink anymore. Though Cynthia has seen me at 5 in the morning at the Ashton Cigar Bar, she could probably fill in some of the blanks.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what about the or what about you didn't leave it on the internet though? That's the important part. It's the matter of like, did you say those things drunk while on the internet?
No, I'm from the generation that either everything bad happened before the internet, or I'm wise enough to keep it off the internet.
There you go.
Or if
That
I'm
is
not, I delete it and block all those connected. So
right. That's great though. All right, what's up, guys? They says punch or a regular cut. So, J.R. Davis, do you like a punch or a regular cut?
it depends on the cigar. I'm doing a V cut here. I guess I prefer a V cut, but it depends on the cigar. Sometimes I will do a punch, sometimes a flat cut, sometimes I'll bite it off. I even have one of those fancy French knives, which I can't pronounce, the lay finesse or whatever. I like those
Yeah.
as well. So a lot of it
Oh,
depends on the cigar.
yeah. I saw a bracelet today that had a punch in it. That was really cute. I mean, I think it looked man or woman. It could probably man or woman could wear it. Didn't matter, but it was cute. I liked
Ironically,
it.
that's the company that does
Yeah.
the little blades, but
Yeah.
they're now starting to do punches. You know, for example, I know it sounds weird, but um, you can punch both sides of a torpedo, and that produces an interesting airflow that's quite different.
Whoa. Dropping a nugget already. We're not even 10 minutes into the show. I love it.
Well, my
Okay.
favorite is LFD makes those chisels. You can just pop it and it opens. Um, but you know, the purist will tell you that you have to use a straight cut, but the realist like Carlito are like, just take it off with your fingernail. You know,
Right, right,
it's
right, right. Yeah. I make fun of that all the time.
whatever works for you. Um, and I know people that all they do is straight cut. I know people all they do is punch. Um, like I would never punch a Padron Anniversario because a lot of times it will crack the head. But
Yeah.
find out what works for you and go
Yeah,
for it.
you're right about that. I've been wondering that. So sometimes I was punching almost everything, and then I noticed that sometimes it was good, and sometimes I would just stop myself. I'd be like, "This is not going to work out." So
Or,
I would just
or if you're smoking like you're smoking, it looks like a Churchill or a double Chateau. If you punch a
a
longer
king.
cigar, oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah. If you punch that, by the time you get to the last fourth of it, the top's been kind of wet and gross. So I probably wouldn't punch a cigar like that. I'd probably do a straight cut or a V cut.
No. Yeah, that's true. I know. All right. This is excellent, excellent information. All right, let's go to the next question. What's up, guys? Let's say we got Gracie in the house too. Hi, Gracie. What's up? So, Jay, I have a question. Do you actually have some nice trivia that maybe these guys could answer for the prize tonight? That maybe um, people in the industry should know, but maybe I don't. I don't know. What?
I don't know if I'm allowed to share it. I'll
Oh,
tell you what. I'll ask it, but then Carlito can say whether or not he wants to answer it. So,
okay.
what was the Fuente's last name before his grandfather immigrated to the United States? Now, he may not want to share that, but I don't want to be the one to share it. A lot of people don't know that.
Ooh, that is interesting information. Okay, we will see. We'll wait for that turn. Okay, so if you guys heard that, we will. I know I need to put that in the comments probably and pin that, but that's a good one. So and I also give away two prizes. So do you might have another one that you might?
Mm, I have to respond to a question. Um, Fuente related trivia?
Yes, or any cigar related trivia. It does not have to be cigar. It doesn't have to be Fuente.
Oh, see, I'm not prepared.
That's okay. I put you on the spot. It was a hot seat
The
question.
what was the binder, filler, and wrapper of the original Don Carlos cigar when it was first blended in 1976?
Ooh, that is a good one. All right, guys, you heard it. I'm gonna have to we're gonna have to repeat that in a few minutes. So next, let's go to another hot seat question. All right. So, three things on your bucket list.
I'd like to go to Copenhagen. I don't know why. It was even before I saw the show The Bridge. And in fact, our family was going to go on a cruise there, but it got canceled because of COVID. I'd like to go to Italy and gain about 50 pounds eating all kinds of food. Third thing, oh, I know it sounds crazy because I've been married forever, but I'd love to go to Niagara Falls with my wife.
Aw, that's cool.
Mine
I
are all
like that
travel
place.
related. Sorry, everything I need is in Texas except for places that are not in Texas.
That's great. Let's see. Oh shit, Dominican Republic and on the Don Carlos. Let's see. Or is it from Cuban Seed? I'm not sure. I hope Jay's gonna know the answer to this. So we're just gonna have to pay attention to these answers or these questions. Let's see.
Crazy.
Oh, what was the okay, so Jay, what's the wildest thing you've ever done?
In the cigar industry or in general?
I think ever.
I don't know. At my age, you don't get into absolutes. The wildest
I
thing
mean,
I've
it could
ever
be
done.
relative. It could be relative. It may be wild to you, maybe
I'll
not
tell you,
wild to.
probably the riskiest thing I've ever done was I quit a very uh, abundant financial planning practice, making a lot of money, and opened a cigar shop. And I did both jobs for about 2 years. And in December of 2013, I decided to take a 85 to 90% pay cut and just do the cigar shop full time. And that was challenging in a lot of categories. You know, things that for years I hadn't worried about, like how do I pay for health insurance? How do I buy food? How do I make sure that, my kids and my electricity bills are taken care of? Because at that time, our store wasn't making a lot of money. So that was probably the craziest thing I ever did because, I have a law degree. I practiced law for about 8 years. So I can always just send in a letter with a check to the state of Texas and start practicing law again. And my financial planning practice was doing quite well. Um, and for some reason, I had this naive idea when I first opened a cigar shop that people were like me, that they would just go into a cigar shop and drop $1,000. I thought, oh, that's what normal people do.
Oh
And I
my
realized
god.
quickly that some of my favorite customers, they'll buy a $4 or $5 cigar, once a week or maybe once a month. And that's really what's got me excited about the PCA and the CRA protecting our rights, because I've been on the other side of the equation, and I want to make sure that everyone who wants to enjoy the luxury of a cigar can enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that has so what's one of your favorite things to be able to like introduce or one of your ways to be able to introduce people to um, more cigars? Do you have like a little, trick that you use or anything that you ever try to like mention something
Well,
to somebody?
if they've never really smoked a cigar, and I'm not saying this because it's the professor show, I typically will start them with a Hemingway signature. I tell them that
Yeah,
this is a cigar that you can enjoy as a new smoker, but it's a cigar that you can be smoking 40 years from now and still enjoy. It has
totally.
the sweetness that maybe a new cigar smoker might want, and because I try to avoid going to a flavored cigar. Now, sometimes the customers say, "No, I really want to have something that's chocolate flavored or coffee flavored." I said, "Well, this tobacco has the natural flavor, but if they really want that flavored, I'll give it to them." But I generally recommend the Hemingway signature. As far as somebody that smoked a few cigars, what I'll recommend is take off the bands. We used to do a Bible study at our cigar shop on Saturday mornings, and one of the coolest things that we did was everybody would come in, and I would select a particular cigar, and I would take the bands off, and I'd hand it out. And at the end of the time that we were together, I'd say, "What do you think about this cigar?" And I would generally take polarizing cigars, like maybe a unpopular Rocky Patel, or maybe a Gurkha cigar, or maybe something from a brand no one had ever heard of. And people would be like, "Oh, this is really good. This is really good." And it'd be great because I would know that I would usually choose a cigar or a cigar brand that somebody says, "Oh, I'd never smoked that." Because it's interesting if you're smoking a Cuban cigar or a Davidoff or an Arturo Fuente, Opus X, or a very established cigar. People sometimes get enjoyment from what's on the band. But if you just give them a blank cigar and have them smoke it, And usually that was a relaxed atmosphere. We're all smoking the same thing, and they're not really focused on the cigar. They're focused upon whatever we were talking about in our Bible study or what have you. And then after an hour and a half, I say, "What'd you think about the cigar?" And it helped me realize that a lot of times we get preconceived notions about different cigars. And I mean, I
Oh
also
yeah,
do
absolutely.
with some really nice Fuente cigars and Padron cigars and things like that. But I always thought it was good to sort of encourage people to get out of their nine dots and try something different. And
Yeah.
I'll do that with people. Or something that I've been known to do is someone will come in, they're a regular customer, and I want them to try something. So I'll go out of the box. Like I used to have an employee who she really enjoys cigars, still comes to the shop on a regular basis. We just couldn't pay her enough. And she had told me in confidence that she just didn't like um, really peaty scotches. And I knew from what she smoked, she didn't like spicy cigars. So I said, I want you to try this Laforic. And she took a sip of it and she almost spit it out. And she's like, that's disgusting. I'm like, okay. So I had her drink some water. And then I gave her a really spicy cigar. I think maybe it was an Espinosa or maybe it was an AJ Fernandez, something like that. And she's like, I don't like these cigars. Let's take a puff off the cigar. She's like, I hate this. Take another puff. I hate this. I'm like, okay, drink some water. So then I had her drink a little bit of the scotch. And I said, now put the cigar in your mouth and smoke it for 30 seconds and then have a little more scotch. And her eyes just lit up. And I said, that's an example of pairing. I said, the Ardbeg is, I think it was Lafort or Ardbeg. I can't remember. But anyways, I said, the really peaty nature of the scotch puts you off. But it also pairs well with the really strong, spicy Nicaraguan flavors you're getting. And ever since then, she's willing to have a spicy cigar if she has the right drink to accompany it. And so, for example, one of my favorite cigars is the Destino El Siglo that Fuente came out with. It has the wonderful blue
Yeah.
of Arturo Fuente. I
Hmm.
cannot smoke that cigar with a cup of coffee. It goes immediately bitter in my mouth. That is a cigar
Wow.
that I will have water or iced tea or Diet Coke or even green tea. On the other hand, if you give me a Hemingway, I want that with coffee. And I have found that
Hmm.
certain cigars just pair better with certain types of foods, certain types of liquids, and there's certain cigars I just don't have coffee with. But other cigars, I have coffee right now. I always have coffee. Usually, usually by my smoking table, I have coffee, water, and Diet Coke. And I used to have whiskey back in the day. And a lot of it just depends on what I'm smoking. Like right now, I'm smoking a pretty strong Nicaraguan cigar. It's a San Andreas wrapper. And if I drink too much of the coffee, it gets bitter in my mouth. So then I'll just stop drinking the coffee. It's not the cigar's fault, it's my fault. And I'll just cleanse my palate with some seltzer water or Diet Coke, and then the cigar's fine. And I think
Right.
sometimes that you can make it difficult on yourself, particularly if you're a beer drinker. I think that people that compare beers with cigars, my hats are off to them because beers are so different. It's a lot easier to pair with a cigar with a bourbon or even a scotch. But beer, are you dealing with an IPA or are you dealing with something that has sort of what's the one that has the sort of orange flavor to it? Um,
Like the
yeah,
blue
Blue Moon.
something.
And in
Blue
fact, I
moon,
use
yeah.
that as a way to describe cigars. I say you want a way to think about Connecticut cigars versus Cameroon cigars. I said Connecticut cigar will generally be a little sweet up front, but very bitter on the back. And to me, that's, I think, Guinness beer. But if you want to think of Cameroon, it's sweet on the front of the palate and on the back of the palate. It's more like a Blue Moon. I know those are rough approximations. So if someone is smoking a uh, Hemingway cigar, I'm not saying don't have Blue Moon with it, but I think you probably do better to sort of pair the taste with maybe a Hemingway or a Don Carlos. On the other hand, if I was smoking, let's say, an Anejo, which has a stronger body, I might go with an IPA, something like that.
Hmm. So is that so? What Gracie's saying is says so she gets the full flavor by drinking water. Is that? I mean, is
It's
that what you really want, or are you just experiencing different tastes by trying different things?
I know purists who will say that they'll only drink water with a cigar. Um, that's to each their own. If you drink water or you drink, I like the bubbly water, like Pellegrino. if you have that with a cigar, you're probably always safe. But the minute you start going in different directions, with like a cognac or a port or a gin, it may complement or it may damage the cigar smoking experience. With the employee that I talked about, if I'd given her that Espinosa cigar with water, she would have put it down and said it was a terrible cigar. I'm like, no, it's not a terrible cigar. I said, you have to understand Eric's palate and how he enjoys his retrohaling. And I said, if you pair that with the peaty scotch, it will help you get those tastes together and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. So Tony's asking the best cigars. We were just talking about the Hemingway Signature, which is a Arturo Fuentes Hemingway line. So try that one, Tony. Or if you have Tony smokes cigars, so if you have friends, suggest that one. It's a great one, and it's also easily attainable. I feel like it's in almost every cigar lounge. I mean, the Signature or the Classic, something along one of those.
Or like you could do if they're concerned about money, you can do an Exquisito sun grown, or you could do an 858, or one of my favorites is the Cuban Corona, which I think that cigar is still less than $6 in a no tax state. So there's a lot of options with African Cameroon, and of course, with the Don Carlos. A lot of it depends on the client. Some people, when they come in, they want to spend $3 or $4 on a cigar, and other people come in and they're like, no, I want to get 5 cigars and I want to spend $100. So it just depends upon what's in the person's price range as to what you can recommend to them. But I would say, in general, a good go-to always is the Hemingway Signature. You're going to get that great, Marifel Cameroon. You're going to get the great Dominican binders and fillers. It's a fantastic cigar. I think it's, I don't know, maybe it's the GOAT. It's just one of the 10 best cigars I've ever smoked, and it's consistent box after box, year after year. Fantastic job.
Yeah, that is true. So it's going back to you're saying that I do feel like people do kind of need to be sold on their cigars. So, I guess you have to have do you think you have to have somewhat of a palate for a cigar? Or everybody's not, is everybody going to enjoy it, firsthand? But also, I guess, I just feel like there needs to be some kind of emotional, attachment or something that, they go and buy it and they want to try it. And it's before they taste it.
I think it depends. Some people have more of a palate. I can walk in my kitchen and I can be 8 feet away from my refrigerator and I can smell if something is bad in the refrigerator. But my brother's a good example. He's been smoking for a number of years. And for the longest time, he would just say, well, there's cigars I like and cigars I don't like. And he's like, it might be a little spicy or it might be a little creamy. That was the best he could describe. Now I find it interesting. I can give him certain cigars and he won't have the words for it. He won't go all Charlie Minato. It tastes like broken dreams and falling windmills and it's quixotic, but he'll reach towards certain brands because there's kind of like a muscle memory. Like a lot of times I don't decide what I'm going to smoke when I go to work. I'll walk in the humidor and it's kind of like a fat guy like me. You open the refrigerator, what do you like? Sometimes you feel like a chicken nugget. Sometimes you feel like peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Sometimes you feel like eating pepperoni. Sometimes you want a salad. And it's the same thing with cigars. You may walk in and you see that cigar with that wonderful San Andreas wrapper and you want that Maduro. And other times you walk in and I see a Candela and I want to smoke that. So I think a lot of it is your mood. And then also, of course, what you're going to pair it with, food and or drink. David Way mentions the Perdomo champagne. Quarter pounder of cheese of cigars. It's not the greatest cigar, but it is incredibly consistent. It's not going to blow your head off. It's affordable. Nick Perdomo and team, they do a good job with making a very consistent cigar that's very approachable.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Every cigar shop that sells Perdomo does well with them. It may not be my favorite cigar, but it's not like if you handed me a Perdomo cigar, I'm going to smoke it. He makes good cigars. The only thing I would argue with Nick about is, can you make more smaller ring gauges? Because most of his cigars tend to be larger ring gauges, and
that's true.
Because he's a student of the market. Most people smoke larger cigars, 52 and up. I tend to smoke.
Yeah, we went to cigar obese. We went into a cigar obese pandemic.
Oliva Connecticut Reserve. That's another good cigar that Mark mentions.
Yeah, I love that cigar. So what about the unreserved? Have you tried the Fuente Unreserved? I tried that. It was great.
I smoked one, and it is extremely close to the 2012. So if you like the original 2012 unnamed reserve, they did a magnificent job on that cigar. Unfortunately, it was very limited. I don't know how many boxes, but it wasn't a lot of boxes. And I think we got a few boxes the first day, and we limited to like 3 or 4 cigars per person, and they disappeared.
Nice. Yeah, that leaf. I like how, a lot of the cigars that I like to try for beginners, I say they sell well. Like they are just big. They're top sellers. They seem to be even just top sellers amongst, regular cigar smokers, as well. So like the Leaf by Oscar, man, that was a big seller. I could sell that thing
Oh,
15.
great cigar.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is, and this is where you learn the discipline as a cigar owner. If I like all of them, but if I had my choice, I would smoke the Sumatra. But
Mm-hmm.
in my store, Connecticut and Maduro outsell the Sumatra and the Corojo 50-1. So we only carry the Maduro and the Connecticut. Though I do cheat, we also have the Maduro Lancero, which is just out of this world. They make a great cigar.
Yeah,
It's
right. I haven't
Honduran
tried the
tobacco.
Lancero. I would love to try that one. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, say that again.
I said Honduran tobacco sometimes gets forgotten about, but there's a lot of Honduran tobacco out there. It has a great sweetness in there. Um, what Julio Roya is making with Alandino, and his son is making with CLE. Um, Altadas, they make a lot of cigars in their Honduran factory. One of the most popular is the Romeo and Juliet Reserve Real. It's a little mild for me, but that's a very popular cigar. So there's a lot of cigars coming out of Honduras that are very good, and sometimes we get all focused in the industry on Nicaragua or Dominican, but there are cigars that come out of Honduras or the United States. Number of good ones out of Costa Rica as well. And
Mm.
Mexico provides wrapper relief, and there's a lot of cigars that are just Mexican puros as well. So there's a lot of places where there's great tobacco grown in the Caribbean.
Yeah, they say it's almost impossible to make a cigar just out of one farm. You need to, to make a really great cigar, you have to be able to network and work between different farmers, right? And get from different
You can get in trouble with your Cuban fanboys. Um, we'd
right.
have to ask the professor on this, but basically, the way that Cuban cigars are made is binder, fill, and wrapper. A lot of times comes from the same plant, so or it might be within the same field, but the idea of blending tobaccos from different countries was kind of unusual before the Cuban embargo. I mean, yeah, you would have maybe a Cuban binder and filler with USA Connecticut wrapper, but there's been different issues throughout the years that the seeds that Cuba has came from Connecticut, and the seeds that Connecticut have came from Cuba due to different storms and whatnot. Um, but in Cuba, it's not unusual to have binder, fill, and wrapper come from one plant. Whereas, let's say you smoke a Fuente cigar, I mean, they'll never tell you, but I mean, I know that they buy tobacco and or grow tobacco in over 20 plus countries. But you're never going to be able to say, "Hey, Carlito, is there Peruvian tobacco in that?" That's a good way to get him to change the conversation. Or he'll never admit, "Hey, we're using this tobacco from Colombia or Costa Rica or whatever." But but they get tobacco from all over the world, and and that's what they're excellent at, is blending those tobaccos and getting a harmonious feel. And there's something to be said about a cigar that has tobacco from all over the world. Um, for example, the Destino El Siglo that I talked about earlier has tobacco
Mhm.
from every country that the Fuentes did work in over the years. So that's not a Dominican Puro. That's got tobacco from a number of different countries.
Oh, interesting. Well, it's a great cigar, but it is a little strong. So how do you feel about like Opus X? Are you you like them fully strong, or are you like more? I mean, I can almost smoke any Opus anyways, but it's because they're so harmonious. I believe it's almost like you can't even tell if they're a full body cigar.
I think it depends on the person. I prefer smaller engage opuses. I would say that opus has predominantly a spice flavor and a sweet flavor, and you get a lot of the extra spice in like the number 4, the number 5, the pussycat, the Power Ranger. But I also know people that they like more of the sweet, or it can become sour. They'll smoke the 60 ring gauge Man Eater, or they'll smoke the Super Bellicoso, or they'll smoke the BBMF. And you definitely get a different expression when you smoke, let's say, a BBMF than when you smoke a number four. And I think there are people that prefer larger ring gauges than smaller. Though I will have to agree with Carlito, the double Corona, even though it's a big cigar, that's probably the best size if you have the time in the Opus X family. That's a phenomenal size. And that's the reason why it was Cigar of the Year a number of years ago.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And then of course they got number one brand of the year for Cigar Snob magazine.
They're number one brand of the year every year. So as far as I'm
I
concerned.
know. Exactly. So let me ask you some
Journal,
questions.
actually.
Do what? They are larger than life.
I think it was Cigar Journal that they gave the Opus X the number one cigar brand, or maybe it was, I don't remember if it was Cigar Brand or Cigar Fatola, but the one thing about Opus X that I like is it's unique. There, a lot of times you can smoke a cigar and you'll say, "Oh, this kind of reminds me of such and such." I don't think I've ever smoked another cigar that's reminded me of the flavors that you get from Opus tobacco. It's very different.
Yeah. And then people wonder why I don't smoke anything else. I mean, it's just like I tried. I really tried. But it is so tough when I've got all of the. Do what now?
I smoke everything. Part of it's my job. I've smoked everything in my humidor, and some of them I would prefer to never smoke again. But I think that's my responsibility as a tobacconist. If someone comes in my store and they want a vanilla flavored cigar, I don't smoke vanilla flavored cigars, but I've got 4 different vanilla cigars and I've smoked them all. So you have to be able to tell that customer how one is different than the other. Or if somebody wants to smoke an acid, they're going to want to know, how is this Cuba Cuba Maduro different from the liquid? How is that different from the Ambrosia? So I smoke those things to know, but I mean, I don't sit back and smoke those for enjoyment.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's a hard job to do. You're really taking one for the team. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I tell Carlito that I think I enjoy his cigars more than him, and he's like, well, "Why do you say that?" And I'm like, "Because I've got to smoke all this other stuff. So when I get back to smoking something that I really like a Rosado or Casa Cuba,
right? I know.
And other companies make good cigars.
Well, this one is my favorite. It got my heart. That was the one that turned my head forever. I was like, I am now a fan.
For sure.
I need more. So yes, those are awesome. So I'm excited. Okay, what was I going to say? So what would let's see. So I love stories about retails, and I feel like there's a lot of characters inside of these RB&Ms. So if you could give us, like, I don't know, a hilarious story about maybe a character, no names, but that maybe has come in an experience or a story that you've had in your lounge.
We have lots of stories.
I try to be modest. I'm sorry.
One of the most interesting things that I ever experienced was a number of years ago during the Biden and Romney debates. We had some customers that were watching it, and we had one gentleman, extremely conservative Christian guy, like every other word out of his mouth is praise Jesus, and he's a nice guy, but he is uber wealthy. He's probably worth, I don't know, $700-800 million. And he's sitting next to a guy who is very left leaning and, thinks that the government should do a lot of things for him. And they have very different beliefs. And one of the things that fascinated me was, as they watched, "Hey, Rich, I'm glad you made it home. It was good to see you and your bride." It was great to see that, Obama would raise a point and then they would talk about it. And they would disagree, but they would talk about it in a very civil way. And then Romney would make a point and they would talk about it. And it was cool to see that, we've got different people, different political spectrums, different beliefs, different stages of their life. We're talking about politics in a very intelligent manner without saying, "Oh, I hate you because you're a Democrat," or "I hate you because you're Republican." I think I'd like to. Well, you see a lot more of that in the cigar shops. Like we had a conversation today earlier in the cigar shop. You know, my mother always said, "Don't discuss religion and politics," and that's all we talk about in the cigar shop. And the issue came up about vaccinations and whether or not people should get vaccinated or shouldn't get vaccinated, or whether it's right or wrong. And we had several people discussing it, and they didn't agree, but nobody screamed at anybody. People presented their ideas, people thought about them, and we fixed all the world's problems during that conversation. And to me, that's what's great about a cigar shop is you can have, and you can have a master electrician smoking. Like we have sort of our lunch crowd. This guy comes in every day. He's a master electrician. He's just a great salty earth guy, very conservative. Then we have a guy he's an Uber driver. He's actually from Miami, and he's extremely left leaning. And he's so crazy, he thinks the Miami Dolphins are going to win a Super Bowl. And then you add into that tobacconist, and then you add another guy who is he's a plumber, and then another guy works for the airline, and they're all just getting along and talking about different things, whether it's sports or what have you. And not everybody agrees, but nobody freaks out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I always say my tagline is that every great deal goes down in a cigar lounge. So
pretty much
you've got people with a great business mind, and they're enjoying cigars and they're wanting to. So Carlito was in here a minute ago, but I was just wondering if maybe he wants to, or what those questions were. So should we ask
there too? Like one time I was in a competitor's cigar lounge, and Rudy Giuliani came in, and you know what we talked about for 45 minutes?
Oh gosh, what?
Baseball.
That's awesome.
Didn't want to talk about cigars. He just sat down and we just talked about, this is a number of years ago, we were talking about the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles, and that's all we talked about. And it was a great conversation. And he was just one of the guys. And that's what's cool about cigars. It's the great equalizer.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's a great, I feel like it's also a great icebreaker too. Almost time. What's up, guys? All right. So thanks for joining. All right. So let's do another question then, because I want to, let's see. What is your favorite thing about yourself? Like, what's your favorite thing that you like about yourself?
I'm married to a very smart woman. Now, I love my wife that, if I need to just vent or complain, whatever the word is, about something, she'll listen to me. And she's very excited to get interested in things that I'm interested in. And it goes both ways. Like my wife has this big crush. I'm going to mispronounce his name, on David Boreanaz. He was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but he was in the show called Bones. I watched every episode of all 12 seasons because she likes him as an actor. She thinks he's cute, and it's a good show. But in the same token, if I want to do something cigar related, she'll do it with me. We went to an event with McAuliffe Cigars last week, and we had a great time. And then there's a couple times we've gone down to the Dominican with the Fuentes and the Newmans, and she wants to do it because she's interested in doing what I'm interested in. So we try to find things that we're both, if she's really into something, then I'm going to learn about it and become interested in it. Like she likes puzzles. I hate puzzles. But if she likes a puzzle, I'm going to sit down and help her out with her puzzle. She's not a big fan of cigars, except, of course, when I'm at Chateau de la Fuente and she's smoking 3 Opuses a day, which for a woman that's cigar a year, I'm like, why are you smoking all the Opuses they're giving us?
That's great.
So that's the greatest thing, I think, being with somebody that gets you. And that's a rare thing. Not everybody has that. So I'm very blessed.
Or somebody who takes I guess, they get you, but they also want to like do things to make you feel like they're worried about how you feel, not just about how they feel. I like that.
And you see that a lot in a cigar shop. You can kind of project where marriages are going to go by how the team thinks about smoking. And I've had, wives say to their husband, "Oh, you can't smoke." So then the guy sneaks to the cigar shop and smokes. So the most interesting thing I ever saw is this woman comes in this one time, and she is pregnant out to here. She's got to be like 9 months pregnant, 9.5 months. So she's like in the 39th week or 40 weeks. She comes in and she buys her husband a locker membership. He'd only been to the shop a couple times. And then she brings out a big bottle of bourbon and she's like, and I want to buy 12 cigars. And then she brought it
Nice.
up later and said, this is my gift for you, and don't be home when I'm breastfeeding. I think that's awesome to see. But I mean, I have other guys who come in and they're like, oh, my wife doesn't want me to smoke. And I'm like, well, then why are you here? I said, you're just causing disharmony at home. You got to figure this out. Don't you have this conversation like generally before people get married? Don't you talk about whether you want children or not? Talk about how you're going to do careers, how you're going to do if someone's a smoker or not a smoker. That's another great thing about my wife. I didn't smoke when we got married. We were married 16 years, and I came home one day and I said, hey, I smoked a cigar today. And then I started getting more involved in the lifestyle, and she embraced it. She didn't have to. She could have been like, wait a second, you weren't a smoker when we got married. But her attitude is, well, this is something that interests you, so I'm going to support it. And I don't think she's ever complained about me buying cigars.
That's
so
awesome.
She gets happier when I sell cigars.
I bet.
Whenever we have a big bill, she's like, oh, you just need to sell more cigars.
I like it. She lives in abundance. I like it.
Yeah.
So what would you say is, there's obviously you got the CRA, the PCA and everything. And obviously the retailers are a big part of that. How would you say that we could get more people into, or what are some of your actions that you try to get more people into the PCA and CRA?
I think a great comment that someone made the other day, and I think it was Eric Espinoza actually on your show.
He was really good.
He's awesome. Eric is just one of the great guys in the industry. I'll share something with Eric before I answer this, is that, when Eric first got in the cigar industry, you know what he was doing? He was a UPS driver. He would bring boxes into the cigar shop and smoke cigars, but that was sort of his first foray. And then after that, he got involved in the industry as a broker. Now I've totally lost my train of thought. What was the question again?
We were talking about oh gosh, now I was asking what are like some of the ways that you can get people into the CRA.
Eric made the suggestion if people, if every person who bought premium cigars, and I don't know what the number is, so
I remember this.
We'll say that there are 5 million people that smoke premium cigars in the United States. I don't know if the number is higher or lower. If every person contributed $1 a year, what that would do for the industry. Anytime that
$1 a month, I think. Wasn't it $1 a month?
$1 a month would be even more. But just to contribute something, I've had conversations with consumers where I will explain to them what the FDA is doing and how they can help. A customer that just spent $300 on cigars, and they're like, I don't want to join the CRA for $35. That's a head scratcher. Then you have other people that come in and they spend $10 on cigars, and you talk about the CRA, and they sign up for $35, and then they buy an extra cigar and put it in the humidor we have for Cigars for Warriors. So I think some people are more giving than others, but I think people have this attitude in general. It's part of the human condition. Oh, that's somebody else's problem. Douglas Adams used to call it in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, somebody else's problem field, that you notice something, you think, oh, that's somebody else's problem. If you're a cigar smoker, or actually even if you're not a cigar smoker, if you're an ally, if you believe in people having individual liberties, why shouldn't you support that? I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't partake in that I still want to support. And it's, whether it's, raising money for breast cancer, or it's supporting people's right to smoke, or people's right to vote. It starts with people caring about other people and getting involved. And if you're an adult and you want to smoke cigars, or you want to smoke marijuana, or you want to gargle glass, fine. You're an adult. I mean, I can't think of anything more dangerous than, drinking 5 glasses of wine and getting behind a car. But that's okay, because that industry is so big that they seem to get protected. So I think that just education is the key, and all we can do is tell people what the FDA is trying to do, and that, hey, it takes money to deal with that. Because the roughly 1,500 to 2,000 tobacconists and the roughly 200 or 300 manufacturers aren't going to make that big of a difference. The difference has to come from consumers. We've even thought about maybe putting a surcharge, an optional surcharge, and say, hey, do you want to contribute 1% of your purchase payment to the CRA? I think that's something that could help. I had mentioned to a few manufacturers maybe we could do a deal where you add 3 or 4 cents to the wholesale price of cigars. And I know La Flor Dominicana got behind that and a few other companies, and it just never went anywhere. But the reality is it's going to take more money than is currently coming in. And you can't have the same 5 or 6 family companies and 30 or 40 retailers write checks. That's not going to solve it.
Right.
Like Cigar Family Foundation, the shirt I'm wearing, I think that started to make a difference because more and more people started to give. Even people that I know that don't smoke cigars, have never smoked cigars, support CFCF.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to see that happen on a bigger level for the CRA and supporting people's right to smoke.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things, that I actually love to watch is, this is a third world country that actually affects our entire world economy. And what they're doing for that country is, bringing them to a more economic, substantial place for us as well. So it's just like they don't. I don't know if they realize what they're taking away.
Carlito's mentioned to me, and I know Tony Candell mentioned this, that for a lot of kids that grew up in rougher areas of the Dominican, that their big dream in life was to go to New York City and become a drug dealer. And to get the parents and the children on board that, oh, I can get an education and I can make something of myself. I can be a doctor, I can be a nurse, I can be a plumber, I can be an electrician, I can be an architect, I can be a brain surgeon. And the Cigar Family Charitable Foundation has allowed that to happen for many people. That's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. It's incredible. I mean, yeah, because these people probably had no hope at all at one point. So absolutely. And so to take that away, it's like you're not just taking away our ability to smoke, you're taking away, great, just livelihood of people in other countries. So,
I think
all
it's a
right.
great example of giving back.
Do what now?
That it's giving back, that great valley that gives us the wrapper for Fuente Opus X, to be able to give back to those families, to those communities, to those children. I think it's awesome what the Newmans and the Fuentes have done.
Absolutely. Totally awesome. Definitely grateful for that. All right. So about the CRA, do you want to, I mean, we've kind of talked about this, how we do the CRA and get in the CRA, but do you want to give them a little brief information about what the CRA is trying to do?
We should have
in case they don't
Carlito
know.
on the board.
I know. He's in the mountains. I don't know if he's able to he may be having connection issues. That's the only problem. We'll see.
No, the idea behind the CRA is to fight for people's right to smoke premium cigars. And that's really in a nutshell what it is. When you have the FDA saying that you have to have 30 to 40% of these wonderful artisanal cigar boxes covered with warnings and pictures of dead babies or whatever it is they want to do. When you want to have outrageous taxes, there's a provision right now before Congress. I don't know if it will pass or not. I don't think it will, but still, if there's already like 42, 43 cent tax on every cigar that comes into the United States. And they're talking about raising that substantially. And that eventually pushes people out. The guy that, or the lady that wants to buy a $5 cigar, now that cigar is $7. What are they going to do about that?
Right.
Cigar Rights of America fights that.
Absolutely.
And also, people in other countries could chime in on this too, because in Canada, for example, you can't walk into a humidor. You walk into a cigar store and you get a menu. And if you get a menu, what are you going to buy? You're going to probably buy a brand that you've heard of. You may not buy the smaller brand from the smaller company. And I think with the exception of one place in Alberta, you can't smoke in the cigar shops. And then in Australia, I guess it's even worse. A cigar in the United States that might cost $6 or $7 might be $40, $45 in Australia. It's very expensive. In fact, one time I was in I was in Amsterdam. I was in a cigar shop, and I went to hand somebody else a cigar, and the proprietor's like, "You can't do that. It's against the law." That was the strangest thing I'd ever heard of. So definitely the anti-smoking people want to make it difficult for people to enjoy their right to have a cigar. And, tobacco culture goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe even thousands of years. And, it's ridiculous that they want to talk about, the evils of cigars, but, they don't even want to talk about the science. I had a heart attack about 4.5 years ago. And one of the things I did before I started smoking again was I started reading the FDA's research on cigarettes and cigars. Did you know that the FDA's own research concludes that secondhand smoke from cigarettes does not cause cancer? They know that, but how often do you hear that? And that
I don't know how that could still be completely true though. Like I guess that there has to be something in the way that they wrote that. Wouldn't that be?
Well, what the study says is that secondhand smoke conclusively does not cause cancer, but it can inflame certain existing conditions like asthma and different things like that. People that have breathing problems, it can affect them. But the idea that if someone's smoking a cigarette at a table in a restaurant and someone's 20 feet away, that's going to give them cancer, that's not true. Now, the business owner or the patron may not want the inconvenience of having smoke, and that certainly should be up to the business owner. I don't have a problem with that. But, for example, the likelihood of getting cancer and getting, what they call heart disease is sort of the big thing. That's what I was focused on.
Mm-hmm.
Heart disease, the likelihood of getting heart disease is 1 in 50,000. If you smoke more than 5 cigars a day, then that number goes up to 2. Now, if you add obesity to that and you add diabetes or a lot of drinking, then the issues get worse and worse. But yes, it is possible to get cancer from smoking cigars, but it's also possible to get cancer from eating a lot of the food that's in the food chain that has all kinds of hormones and things in it. But no
Absolutely.
one doesn't want to talk about that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, smoking a cigar is not the safest thing in the world, but to just say that if you smoke a cigar, you're going to die from cancer, and then anybody that inhales it. I mean, my aunt believes that if every time you smoke a cigar, it damages the ozone layer and it opens us up to radiation. The science does not support that.
Yeah, I don't think so. That would be a lot.
There was a COVID study published during the first couple months of COVID in the New England Journal of Medicine that in France, they were very worried about the impact of cigarette smoking, and I guess cigar smoking to a lesser degree, and the likelihood of how it could affect you with COVID. Because I know a lot of municipalities and states and businesses have said, oh, we can't have smoking because it makes COVID worse. Well, they expected a certain percentage of people, 32% of the population of France smokes. So they were looking for what was going to happen with those 32%. And what they found is that the incidences of COVID still happened, but they are more like 8%. And they couldn't figure out why people that smoked actually had 75% less chance of getting COVID. And that certainly doesn't mean you can't get COVID. I know a lot of people that smoke cigars that have gotten COVID. But there's an example of the science published in the New England Journal of Medicine that when we were talking with a local health official here in Dallas, they don't want to hear that science. So, if you want to talk about the dangers of smoking, that's fine. We can also talk about the dangers of tanning in the sun every day. We can talk about the dangers of having growth hormones in our meat and in our milk and different things like that. So it's interesting. Like one thing that no one will talk about is that 80% of the people that have died from COVID were either obese and or had diabetes, but nobody talks about that. Like you can't tell America, hey, you should all lose 20 pounds, even though that probably would help people's health more than, hey, you shouldn't smoke.
Yeah.
I'm not against science, and I'm not against getting vaccinated. I've been vaccinated, but I'm saying that people talk about the science, but then they're selective, and that's our culture now. People are very selective on what they support, what they believe, what they think. But the getting back to the question, the CRA can help educate people. Um, if if you can't smoke in a business and you can't smoke at a restaurant, and where I live, you can't smoke in a public park. Why can't you, as
Wow.
an adult, walk into a cigar shop and smoke in a lounge?
Yeah, exactly.
I
I
mean,
agree.
particularly if the government really wants to raise taxes from taxing tobacco, people have got to consume it some way. And then the whole vaping thing, that's a whole nother set of issues because people started vaping to stop smoking cigarettes smoking, and it helped them. And then a lot of
Right.
people vape marijuana, or a lot of people buy cheap cigars like the machine made ones and they make blunts out of them. But that's okay. Like, I was going to rent a car a couple weeks ago. I was going to go see a friend of mine, and I wanted to see what their fee would be if I smoked in the car. And interestingly enough, if you rent a car from Silver Car, there's a fee they charge you if you smoke. But
Okay.
if you smoke marijuana and you have a prescription, it's okay to smoke in the car. Does that make sense?
Oh my, it doesn't make any
Don't
sense.
pop
It
in the
sounds
car if you don't
dangerous.
smoke tobacco. So apparently, if you have a prescription for smoking marijuana, you should rent all your cars from Silver Car, and because they're based on the left coast, that's okay. And then apparently they don't care if the car smells. Which you would think, if they're really concerned about the car not smelling, they would stop that too. So it's just, and that's the craziness. And the CRA does a lot to educate our Congress people and our representatives about the things that they should pay attention to. And no one's saying that you want to go to grammar schools and hand premium cigars to 8-year-old kids. We're not saying that. We have very few customers that come in our store that are under 25. But if like a lady came in today, I'm not going to guess the lady's age, but I would say she's somewhere between 35 and 45. She came in, she bought herself 7 cigars. If she wants to buy those cigars and enjoy them on her patio, what's wrong with that? She's an adult.
Right.
And God forbid, some of them were mint flavored. You know, she had 4 mint flavored cigars and the other were full body Nicaraguans. So she obviously enjoys a variety of cigars. Why shouldn't she be allowed to enjoy that? And that's what the CRA is fighting for.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
the CRA is primarily funded by, I don't know the number, but I'll say ballpark, 12, 15 companies. And Fuente is one of the 3 or 4 companies that has by far paid the lion's share for that. Carlito can't say that, but I can say that. And the Fuentes and the Newmans and the Padrones and Rocky Patel, these people have put a lot of money to protect the rights for everybody. And CRA would like to increase the pie, get more people involved.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so a couple of people have jumped off, but that leaves
You
room
scared
for
me.
everybody else to be able to win.
We stopped talking about fun stories and we got all serious.
I know. Well, then let me just go back to the fun stories. I can ask you. I got a lot more questions. I need to try these out anyways because it's like I got to figure out which ones are the best ones. So, like, what is? All right, here's one. What's the weirdest thing in your closet?
Besides clothes that don't fit me,
Yes.
I have a pair of golf shoes in my closet, and I have a really bad back, so I haven't golfed for about 6 or 7 years. So I have a pair of golf shoes that my wife would be mad to know this, that still have grass in the cleats.
Oh my god.
And depending
Do
upon
you
the
have
time
a?
of day, one of my cats might be in the closet too.
I thought it was so funny that my little brother, he used to have a members only jacket with popcorn still in it. So he would put this members only jacket in it, and he'd be like, "I don't want to take the popcorn out." I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, get
You
the
know
popcorn
what's
out of your
cool
jacket."
though about this time of year? You put on a jacket and you reach into the pocket, and there's a cigar that's been sitting there for 6 months, and there's a $20 bill. I remember one time I found a Diamond Crown Maximus cigar. I don't know how I missed it. It was underneath my seat, and it had been there for like I put that in the humidor for a few months, pulled it out and smoked it. It was fine. But yeah, it's always fun when you start getting into the winter months and you put on a coat and you realize, oh wow, I didn't know I still had this.
Bill says that just keeps them seasoned. That's funny.
That's right. Keeps them seasoned.
Oh my gosh. All right. Who is your celebrity crush?
What do you mean by celebrity crush? Like if they make a movie or whatever, I'll go see it, or I had posters of them as a kid. What would you mean by crush?
I don't know. I guess the one that you like the most. It doesn't have to be like a girl. Eric answered with Bob Lee. What was his name? Yeah, somebody. It
Well,
was a guy though.
when I was a kid, it was definitely Jacqueline Smith, who was one of Charlie's Angels. Um,
Oh,
but I would say probably Clint Eastwood. When the new Clint Eastwood movie came out on HBO Max this week, I watched it as soon as it was available.
oh, I have to see
Always,
that. I love a Clint Eastwood movie. I haven't seen it.
you know, and it wasn't his best movie ever, but I really enjoyed it. And then I'm like, oh, I'll watch Dirty Harry again. Oh, I'll watch Thunderbolt and Lightfoot.
I like
And
Gran
Lost in
Torino. I like
Space
that.
would be my favorite by him.
That's awesome. I like
Um,
him too.
I'm a big fan of William Shatner too. I was actually, long story, but between being a lawyer and being a financial advisor, I did some missionary work for my ministry, and I was working a part-time job at Einstein Bagels, and William Shatner came in. He was always one of my idols growing up because I was a big Star Trek fan, and I got to meet him and make his bagel and talk to him for a few minutes. And super funny guy.
That's awesome. I would love to meet Will Ferrell. I think that he's like
He
probably
is.
super boring without a camera in front of his face.
I don't know. He would be a fun guy to have a cigar with.
Super fun. Yeah. I would
One time
love
I
that.
was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I used to watch this show on ESPN called The Sport Reporters. And I don't know why, but it came out at like 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays, and they'd have all these old reporters. These guys were all in the 60s and 70s. And there's a guy that used to write a lot about boxing named Bert Sugar. And I was doing business, and I was at this hotel that's at the bottom of these two buildings in Tulsa, and it's a replica of the World Trade Center. It's just built smaller to scale. And I'm sitting there finishing a cocktail, and I look at my buddy and said, "That's Bert Sugar." So, and I knew he smoked cigars. So I walked over and I said, "Hey, if I give you a cigar, can I bend your ear for a couple hours about boxing?"
Hey, there you go.
The Alec Bradley family, I don't know what it's called. Maybe it's just called Alec Bradley family. But anyways, that cigar just come out, and I really was smoking a lot of those then. So I gave him one, and I said, "I've always heard about Sugar Ray Robinson being the best fighter pound for pound. What do you think?" And then he just went off for 30 minutes about the guy. And then tell me about when Cassius Clay fought Sonny Liston, and he talked about that fight and how Clay, I think, was like, Clay's Muhammad Ali. I think he was like a 9 or 7-1 underdog. And then we talked a lot about Muhammad Ali's career and a lot of the other heavyweights. And I mean, this guy, talking to him about boxing is like talking to Carlito about cigars, just all that he knew. And it was all
Yeah.
over. The guy had never met me. He didn't know I'd be a stalker.
Oh,
Speaking of Carlito, we got Arturo too. We got the good-looking guy.
Yeah, looks like you're having some fun. I like this. How's it
say
going?
something, Carlito.
Uh-oh.
Oh, they're breaking up.
They're having a good old time. They look great though.
Good fellow in that hat. But that's what's cool about cigars. It breaks down boundaries, and you can just talk to people.
Right? Exactly. We'll wait till they get back on.
Carlito off.
What? He'll when they.
Question.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, ask me any questions.
You're a cigar influencer. You've met a lot of people in the industry, but who was the influencer when you first met them? You were like really nervous to meet them, whether it was on camera or in person.
Another influencer?
No, a cigar person. So, like, when you first met or talked to George Padron or Carlito or Rocky, who was it when you met with them? Like, your heart was pounding, you're like nervous, like, I don't want to screw this up.
It was actually Carlito. I would say, like, he was probably. So we've been on, shows together, the whole, like for a year or so. And then finally I met him at the Great Smoke, with Smoke In. And so I was, I just wasn't, I was expecting to meet him. I was excited to meet him. But then when I got up to him, there's like all these people, of course he has like people around him. And I just didn't want to be like rude or anything. So I was just like, Like I think we were both nervous, and then finally, like there wasn't a lot of people around. We were like, "What's up?" I was like, "What's up?" Like it was easier, but yeah, that was nerve wracking. And but with the influencers though, those ladies are, some of those are, nerve wracking too. I mean, cigar lover, Evie's. I was definitely nervous about meeting her, but that was awesome. Uh, the one, Delicia, she was super nice. She's amazing. And then, of course, when I got to meet her in person, she was super, super nice. Oh, Liana was also, I was nervous, but then she's like, as soon as I walked up to her, it was like I'd known her forever. So that was cool.
The first time I met Liana, I was very nervous to meet her. I already knew Cynthia pretty well, and I knew Christina, her cousin, and I'd met Carlito, and I was at a trade show, and my friend Berta Bravo is like, "I want you to meet Liana," and we
Yeah.
were at the Venetian, and she walked over, introduced me to her, and like my heart's pounding. I'm like really nervous, and I'll never forget that she goes to Berta. She's like, I've got to go to this show in like 5 minutes. And then it's like something in her mind clicked, and it just shows you about her concern for people. Liana took off her glasses. She had this really cool white rim glasses, sat down, and she goes, "Tell me about yourself." And we talked for
Aw.
like 45 minutes, and I was just blown away because I knew that she had someplace to go. And she's like, "No, no, no." She goes, I want to get to know you. And that, is so typical for, people I've met in the Fuente family. But I'll say that I was probably more nervous to meet Liana because I at least had some introduction to Carlito, and I had met Cynthia in a social environment with my wife. But here I am, I'm at the trade show, and I know who Liana is, but I'd never met her, never corresponded with her on social media, and I was very nervous. And she just took all that worry and concern away, and I got to know her as a human being, and it blew me away. She's just awesome. I'm so glad she's nominated for Cigar Person of the Year.
Yeah, Woman of the Year. That's awesome.
We
So
said I didn't
please,
want to use
guys,
that word because I think she could win Cigar Person of the Year. It doesn't have to be just for
that
women.
too. Absolutely. So if you guys want to right now, you can go to there is a post on my page as well as Liana's page, but go to the post and you can click the link in that and be able to vote for Women of the Year. So give her a nice big vote. Although we love all of them that were nominated. Karen Berger was also an excellent, um, you know, lady of the leaf, and the other one as well. So
Blondie. I can't pronounce her regular name, so I just call her Blondie.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, besides how awesome Liana is in general, what she did this year, raising all that money, getting people more involved was just huge. I mean, she's always done that. It's not like something she just starts, just year after year, very involved in the fight. She's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, so I'm just Carlito's back in the room, but I'll just wait for a thumbs up. Whenever I get that thumbs up, it looks like he's alrighty. We're gonna try this again. Let's see. I feel like I think you can. I think you can. I think you can. I think it's like Facebook is a little funny sometimes, but I don't know if it's gonna stream up there. Let me see.
Two people, two great admirers here. We're in the
Yay!
fighting of the jungle. Well, jungle, but there's no lions, but there's a lot of tigers and bears. What kind of animals? I don't.
Sorry. Did I mess them up?
And Frozen.
I know I was trying to make them solo so they could. I feel like it would be better
Yeah,
if
you
I
can put
got
me in the
over there.
back room because these are for you get bandwidth.
Do what? Put him
You
in the
can put
back.
me in the back room if it gives him more bandwidth.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I was trying to put me in the background. Okay, we'll wait till he gets back.
We've got to pause.
They're in the middle of nowhere, so we can't blame them. Whatever. It's just the internet. So we still appreciate that he's trying to get on. How about that? That's pretty cool.
And he has Arturo with him. Arturo is what an awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So Arturo is there. Arturo, if you guys don't know, Arturo Sandoval, is a multi-Grammy award-winning trumpet player. Played with everybody. What from Ariana Grande or from Frank Sinatra to Ariana Grande. So it's impressive. He actually sang the happy birthday song for me last year for my birthday.
Oh, wow.
Or played birthday song. Yeah, it was cool. That was cool. All right, so let's get to the prizes. Okay, people are probably like, "Were we gonna win anything?" All right, so how is this? So what was the question? And did we? I know that they had some answers, from the very beginning. I don't know if those were the right answers though. Do you remember what the questions were?
Well, so the question that I know I'm allowed to ask is the original Don Carlos in 1976. What was the binder, filler, and wrapper?
Yeah, so I've got a Dominican filler, Habano binder, and a Rosado wrapper.
Close, but no cigar.
Ooh, not that cigar. What about a Honduran with Cuban seed? That doesn't
Nope.
really say all of it though. Okay, I didn't see any. I mean, I saw some more earlier, but it's not showing me all of it. It took away some of my comments. All right, guys. So if you know the answer, go ahead and put the comments down below. Let us know what you think. All right, what's the first? Say it again. The first.
The original Don Carlos in 1976, filler, binder, and wrapper, different than it is today. What was it?
Okay, and then the other question was, what was the name? What was the Fuente's name?
Well, only if Carlito's willing to answer it. What was the Fuente family name before Arturo Fuente immigrated to the United States? Jose Blanco might not even know that one. I only know the past.
Okay, Gracie says it's Dominican, and Dominican for the cigar.
No.
Nope.
The first Dominican Puro was Opus X. I guess they planted the seeds in 92, 95?
Yeah, that's an interesting question I can keep in my back pocket.
Well, that was what spawned the lawsuits and all that other. No one believed that you could grow a cigar with a Dominican wrapper, and Carlito proved everybody wrong.
All right, let's see. We got any luck this time?
I think we can hear a little bit.
Yeah. So, I wonder if Carlito, can you hear us? Fuente family. Yeah. That's right, Gracie. She's trying. Okay, so maybe they don't know. So how else are we gonna pick we gotta pick another prize. How about a Nicaraguan tobacco? That's where the factory originally was. Was there some Nicaraguan tobacco in there?
No, not yet.
Oh, am I allowed to answer that question?
Yes.
Oh. So that's probably the closest to the right answer. Because I was trying to pin Carlito down about this in the Dominican. In 1976, the Fuente factory was in Nicaragua. So Don Carlos was originally a Nicaraguan Puro. So Dominican binder, filler, and wrapper. Because I asked him, I said, has it always been, Cameroon wrapper and Dominican binders and fillers or whatever you're willing to disclose? He's like, oh, yeah. And I said, really? I said, that surprises me because you were in Nicaragua in 1976. And he goes, no, you're right. He goes, that was actually a Nicaraguan Puro. So that's a cigar I've never seen or smoked, but there's probably some really old Don Carlos out there. And there's probably a period of time. Frank Seltzer just texted me. The first factory was actually in Tampa. He is correct about that. But the question, Frank, was when Don Carlos was first made in 1976. And yes, they were making cigars in Tampa, but they were making a lot of cigars in Nicaragua at the time. And
nice.
That's when Don Carlos was made.
So Aldo wins?
Correct as usual.
Nice. All right. So Aldo, congratulations. You'll win the prize. Okay, the first prize. All right, then the second one.
Aldo that has a really big beard that we saw in the Meet the Professor marathon. Yeah. I love that beard. I don't know if that's
no. He's I don't think so. No, he doesn't have a big beard. He is
and Frank Seltzer texted me and said true. So if Frank says it, it's right. I don't know if you ever met Frank. Frank has been in media for, I don't know, a long time, and he's been in cigar media for a long time as well. And Frank is always very accurate, no BS. He writes a lot of great articles for Cigar Journal.
I'm gonna try this again, but I don't know if it'll get. We'll see. Darn, I wish we could get him on here. Too bad the reception is not that good. So, all right. Okay, so the second one, now we have to, are we going to go with, we're going to find out the name or what? Are you going to tell us the name?
I don't know if I'm allowed to ask that question, so we have to come up with a different question.
All right, what's a different question then?
Oh.
Or we could do like guess that cigar. I always like to play guess that cigar. So like you can describe a Fuente cigar and they have to guess which cigar you're talking about.
Actually, I have a kind of related question. So, I don't carry everything that Fuente makes. I don't carry Sosa cigars, but of all of the regular cigars that the Arturo Fuente factory makes in the Dominican, there are two lines of cigars that don't mention the Fuente name on the box.
I know those. Ooh, I know those. I know that answer.
That's because you hang out with Cynthia and she smokes both of them.
Yeah, she does.
We could give them one of the brands and they could guess the other.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Oh no, maybe okay, let's give them, what do you think? Okay, so David got one of them. Did you just ask for one?
Well, I asked for the two, but he's definitely nailed one of them. He got the hard one.
Yeah, he got the hard one. Well, I don't know. We made it such a big deal lately. I feel like that was deep.
Well, I know that with regard to the brand that they haven't mentioned yet, there was a considerable discussion about whether or not to put the Fuente name on the box, and they decided not to because they wanted to attract a new generation of smokers.
Yeah.
Euless got both.
Euless got both. Okay, so I think Euless might have to win. What's up?
Euless is the first one to mention Castillo.
Hey, what's up? You know, I've been listening and everything, and you talked about,
Yay.
You know, wait, I don't know this phone. Hey, wait, hold a second. Where are we at?
We can hear you, though.
But
yeah, I can hear you. Well, it might.
You're moving in slow motion.
Wait, how the hell you do this shit, man? I'm sorry about the slip of the. But anyway, I'm gonna say something. Then I'll figure this out. I just got a bunch of pages. Some are porn and everything. Oh, here. Wait, hold on. Oh, this one. Arturo says that one. Yeah. Don't touch anything.
The only words I heard from Carlita were Asians and porn.
I don't know if that's seriously. Arturo sends his regards. Hey,
Hey, Jay. How are you, man? How you doing, Melanie?
Hi, I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're here in the middle of nowhere in the jungle of Dominica.
Really, the jungle.
In the middle of nowhere. It's a miracle that we have some kind of sign. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm so glad you
signal, but anyway. But Melanie, how you were able to secure an interview with Mr. J.R. Davis is, I mean, to me, is my hats off to you. Really.
Thank you.
And I've been listening to this, and you know what? It kind of gives me a little bit of comfort to know what happened here.
Don't touch it.
What happened here? Hold on. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Can still hear you.
I didn't do anything. You're listening, but all these porn sites keep coming on my phone. I don't know why, but anyway.
Jeremiah sends those links.
No, bro, I'm just kidding. But the thing, yeah, you know, in humor, when you get to be my age and everything, and life, not humor, life, you have to have the Cuban humor that all busting, you know? The things that we do with Jose Blanco, the professor, and I do with you, Jay, and everything. I just want to say something. I am in the time that I heard this interview, and I will go back and listen to every word. Jay, you are so on. You're so passionate about cigars and your customers. I think that's what's more important, not the cigars alone, but the why, you really have really dedicated yourself in hungry for information, because you pass it on to your customers, and you're very important to generations that come, and I hope you last a long time, because you know the facts, and you're right. Everything you said tonight, that is the facts, the dates and everything. I know you're a friend. You're a great friend. Your heart is unmeasurable, what you do for Cigar, Family Show Foundation, and everything else you support. But listening to you tonight, really, it warms my heart to know how real you are, that this is not by accident, that you have really put your heart and soul behind finding out what's behind the cigar, what's more than the cigar, the passion, the feeling, the people, giving back, being able to make a difference in this world. Mr. J. Davis, you really, really phrased it very well in every word you said during this entire interview, which you did not intend it to be that way, but I interpreted it to be that way.
Okay.
And Arturo and I were talking, we were friends, we were living, we didn't have a signal, and we're saying, wow, what a great human being. This man, this friend, this brother simply gets it. We love you.
We love you too. I'm so glad you're there with Arturo.
Yo, me too, bro. You know, he's my brother. I love him, my best friend, my closest friend, my mentor, my father. And, you know, he's everything.
I'm not that old to be your father.
No, you want to be my father, but you know, you are tough on me like my father, and everybody needs a brother that really takes out the whip once in a while, and that's sincere. That's a real brother, and you know we're brothers and everything. And I love him with my heart. I listen. Not only he's the greatest in the world in free and music and compositions and sound, his philosophy of life. And I think that's what's important. Let me just say one last thing, because this is your program, not mine. Let me just say one last thing. None of this relationship, this love with you, with Arturo, with Melanie, or with everybody else in the world will have never, ever happened if it wasn't because of the simple pleasure of life to enjoy a cigar. And really, that is the magic, that is the miracle, and that's something that we have to all together with. I'm sure you've spoken about so many times. We just keep pounding. Let's defend history. Let's defend our rights. Let's do the thing. And you know, most importantly of all, as I get older in life, let's love each other. Let's give love. Let's smile. We are all one. All the manufacturers, brick and mortar, tobacco growers, all the people who really work. And I exclude from that all the geniuses that come from these brilliant universities that their only mentality is making a profit. I exclude that because I have to, because that is the only threat that we have in our world of happiness. Jay, continue the show with Melanie. You know what? Melanie's never interviewed me. Never.
Well,
And
oh my God, I totally think about that too.
Cupcakes, so this, so that, and trying to get on her best side. Never interviewed me. Never. But anyway, I send you both my love, as well as Arturo.
Peace and love. All the best, guys.
Continue to have a great show. Happy Fuente Friday, family.
Yes,
We love you.
love you.
Thank
Gracias.
you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Oh, that's
Take
great.
care.
Okay.
So, Melanie, I got to tell you a story now about the first time I met Carlito in person.
Okay, great.
A number of years ago, I talked my older brother, who at that time didn't smoke cigars, into helping me open my cigar shop, and he gave money out of his retirement fund, and he was a little, what's the word, cautious about why he was doing what he was doing, and so I brought him to the Big Smoke. I want to say it was 2011. Yeah, because he did not go to the trade show that first year. And at the Big Smoke, they have the producers of the 3 top-rated non-Cuban cigars talk. So Carlito gets up and he starts talking about his relationship with his father, and about how much he respects his father and loves his father, and about, I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. And he starts talking about family and about that. This, like what he just shared. It isn't about money. It's about, you have a passion to give people the joy of a cigar. And my brother, who had left at one point because the cigars were so strong for him, he went upstairs and laid down. He was sick. He came back and he got to hear Carlito speak. And right near the end, my brother looks at me and he goes, "I get why you're doing what you're doing." He goes, "This makes sense." And that was, I think, his money was already in the company. He was going with me to the Big Smoke, but that's when he locked in and said, "Okay, I understand why we're doing what we're doing. Why you quit this job that makes a lot of money, and why you're selling cigars."
That's so cool.
And that was a really important moment for me. And then we decided later in the afternoon, we went to Casa Fuente, and lo and behold, Carlito was there. And I said to my brother, I want to go introduce myself. So I went up and I shared this story with him. And like I said, I'd never met Carlito before. I mean, I knew who he was, but we'd never met. And he gave me a big hug. And he's like, "That's what it's about. It's about family. It's about people. It's not about cigars." And he reached in his bag and he handed me, I think it was a BBMF. I'd never seen that cigar before. It was, give that to your brother. I want him to enjoy that. And that's just the epitome of who he is. That, not only did he take the time to share his passion about cigars and opened his heart and talked about his relationship with his father. A real man is not afraid to talk about his feelings, and talked about why he does what he does. He could have just stood up on the stage and said, "I make the best damn cigars out there, buy my cigars." But he shared from his heart, and he didn't have to do that. And then on top of that, he also, took the time to meet me as an individual. And
yeah,
that's Carlito. And we should not take that for granted, because we've all worked in corporate America, and we've all had good bosses or bad bosses, or people that we've worked with or had contact with. And one thing that you really see in the cigar industry, particularly with the Fuente family, is their willingness to share their lives. And they don't have to do that. That we should never take that for granted, about the fact that they're human beings, and that they have their children, they have their families, they have their business, but they take time to include other people in the cigar family, like you, like me, like Ulyss, like many of the people that are on this call. David Wayne can share stories too. I mean, a lot of these people can, about how he's taken time for the individual, and that's awesome. So he leads by example.
Absolutely. That's probably the best way. Totally. That's one of the reasons why I follow him, because you meet a lot of people that have a lot of success, and I'm always a big, advocate for, follow people that are where you want to go, So, but you see a lot of those people, you get to know them, and then you start to realize that like what they're doing is not completely, maybe the way that it should be done, or there's just a lot of fakes, I guess. Some, not saying that everybody's like that, but anyways, Carlito is one. I'm so grateful to be able to follow somebody like that.
When I was in the Dominican in May, there's an individual that Ulyss and I know very well, who's worked at the factory for a number of years. And I was kind of disappointed that he wasn't in the factory the day that I was there. The reason he was not at the factory, this individual, was that the Fuente family was working to help him buy a home. That's the kind of people that you're dealing with. Is they take care of people, and whether it's their employees or their operators, everybody, they take care of people, and they're very good at that. And that's awesome. Something you don't have to do as an employer, certainly. But this is a person that's worked for them for a number of years, who had some medical issues come up at one time, and a lot of factories probably would have let the guy go, but they didn't. They supported him. They found him things that he could do with his skills, and he's become a very integral part of the factory team there. And he missed work that day because they were working on helping him get a home. And that's an example. And Carlito would never show that. He's not going to blow his own trumpet on that.
No.
That's the kind of people they are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I love is that he'll, when I have, people in the industry, influencers, or just, fans of Carlito, if they, want to get on an interview with him, or if they want to meet him, I just love, being able to make that connection with him. And it's really awesome. I mean, my friends are just like, oh my God, I can't believe he's like so humble. He really is exactly who he is. I'm like, yeah, that's Carlito. I'm like, so it's cool. Yeah, exactly. It's so awesome. So I'm so, grateful to be able to do that. So anyways, how's your cigar?
Angel Share is incredible. Good friend of mine, Eric Smaldino, he's owns a retail shop in Napa Valley, great friend of the family. Eric recently was raising money for the Cigar Family Charitable Foundation, and I bought some things from him. And one of the cigars was damaged, and he wasn't able to replace it because it was a very unique cigar. So he sent me a couple of cigars as sort of a thank you, and he didn't have to do that. And one of them was his Angel Share. So I'm enjoying this.
Nice.
Thank you.
That is a good friend. Yeah, that's a good friend. So, all right. So, guys, this Sunday coming up 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to have the Professor Show, and we are having the House of Horvath is our guest. So I believe that's a lounge from Switzerland. Am I correct?
You're asking me? I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I don't know all the details.
I learn as I watch, so why don't all of you guys just join me and learn with me, and we can definitely figure out who they are together. So it's going to be fabulous. I know it is fabulous. I heard lots of great things about this interview. So Jose always brings the legends anyways. So it's going to be great. So 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check us out, The Professor Show. And also go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Oh, here's Carlito. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is tinyurl.com/The Professor Show. And you can also go to the Facebook page, which is The Professor Show, and hit the bell. Make sure that you get notified anytime we go live, and you will never miss a show. So it's pretty fantastic. I don't know. So go. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
You gonna have another giveaway?
Nope. I think I can only give away 2. So let's see. So it looks like, okay. My question though to you was, did you say that Casa Cuba may have Fuente on it? A Fuente on it?
No, I was responding to David's question that I think the God of Fire says that.
Okay.
I could be wrong. My wife would point out to me that I'm frequently wrong, but I don't think that Fuente's name is anywhere on that box. Maybe it's possible. Let's go check.
Yeah, go check. You're cutting out a little bit. Are you gonna correct me? Because I feel like I should. Thank you for this awesome show. Yeah.
So the box does say on the back that it's made by hand in the free zone in the Dominican, and it just says A Fuente YCIA, but it doesn't say anywhere on there Arturo Fuente on the box. And Montesino's the same way. So I guess technically the Fuente name is on this box, and that was a decision I guess that they made because they didn't want people just to buy the cigar because it said Fuente. They wanted to buy it because it was a great cigar.
Yeah, exactly. It is a great cigar. So there you guys go. So actually, I was going to, so the 2 winners of the prize, I was going to since Gracie and Euless are both, pretty involved and have won before, I was going to give the prize to Tim Lorfink. So we're going to let him win. He said Montesino.
Good
so
guy.
I feel like that was the closest one to the winner. And then the other one was congratulations to Aldo for the other one. So fantastic. There you guys go. Be sure to send me a DM with your address so that I can get those in. And congratulations. So Jay, thank you so much for joining me tonight. This was awesome. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was a privilege to be on here, and I thought we were just going to hang out. So I didn't expect all the questions, but it worked out great.
Yeah, to hang out, whatever. You don't have any questions. You don't have any last minute questions for me or the audience, do you?
Well, tell me, what have you smoked recently that really caught your eye? Maybe it was something you smoked before, but you just smoked it again. You're like, wow, this is a great cigar. that you really enjoyed that you've been going back to more and more recently because of that experience?
Well, I'm a pretty mild girl, but I really I love the Brulee Blue by Dunbarton and Trust. That is a great, creamy, nice, and I just think it's so funny how it does taste like it's got a sweet tip, but he's like, no, 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 it's not a sweet wrapper, you know, like, but it does. Like you put that tea next to your lips, it's good. So whatever.
We would just say that's the age of the tobacco. I'm not smart enough to know one way or the other. If Steve says it's not sweet tip, then it's
I
not.
believe him. Yeah, right. I totally agree. I don't argue. I'm just saying like it just tastes like it. But it's really good. So yes, I love that cigar. So that's one of my favorites. And yeah, pretty much I still love I always go back to the Hemingway line. I mean, that cigar is just excellent. And so are the 858. So every time I smoke one, I'm always like, wow, this is such a great cigar. Like it
Yeah,
really
I
is.
usually smoke my Don. I've been on a Casa Cuba kick lately, and most people that know me know that I like the Doble Seis or the Doble Trace, but I got this box, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. This is the double five, and I think there's five left.
Jeez.
And normally, if I smoke Casa Cuba, it's the 3 or the 6, but I've been smoking the Robusto size, the number 5s, a lot lately, and I've rediscovered that cigar in the last month and been smoking a lot of those.
That's awesome. And so, okay, so out of all times, since you've gotten to try so many different cigars, what would be the best cigar you've ever smoked?
The best cigar I ever smoked was in the Dominican with Carlito and with JJ, you know JJ, and
Yeah.
it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and Carlito pulls out these Lanceros, and they have a band from them from the Don Carlos Anniversario line, and I don't know what was in that cigar, but it was without question best cigar I've ever smoked. I've smoked a 60-year-old Cuban pre-embargo cigar in London that I paid way too much money for. I've smoked a lot of cigars, but whatever was in that, I'll call it a Don Carlos Anniversario Lancero. I don't know what the proper name is for it.
I love his Lanceros.
Rich had a few of those at one time. That was without question the best cigar I've ever smoked.
Wow, that's awesome. I know, I love those Lanceros. Anything that he does in a Lancero is excellent. Those wrappers are just delicious. So awesome. All right. Well then, okay. So I guess I can ask you more hot seat questions, or we can, move on. Do you want another hot seat question?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it. I got time. All right. Did I ask you this one? What's your biggest pet peeve when it comes to social media?
When people get too political, but you mean in the cigar industry?
Yeah, I guess so. When people get too political would work too, but maybe if you have something better, yeah, cigar industry, go for it. I mean, we're kind of wild here in the cigar industry, you know.
I have a lot of pet peeves about different things on social media. I think the thing that probably makes me scratch my head is when people will post something and they're trying to be very controversial, and it's almost like they're trying to start a fight. And a lot of cigar posts, it's bringing people together. But I think sometimes people will, they want to have these big arguments about, are Cuban cigars the best or Dominican cigars the best or whatever. And I think the cigar that's the best is the one that you're enjoying right now, as long as you've got good company around it. And I think social media sometimes can be divisive because sometimes people become keyboard warriors. And anytime to bring people together, I think that's a wonderful thing. And most cigar posts do that. And, not every post is going to be, puppy dogs and flowers. Life happens. Sad things happen. But I think anytime that a post is intentionally divisive, when it can be something that brings people together, that kind of bothers me a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand that. See, let's see. What is your dream road trip destination?
So I have to drive in a car there, huh? Actually, I think I've already done it. Um, I was in Miami. Uh, I don't remember why. I was in Miami for an event, and I drove up to Tampa to hang out there for a day with a lot of people. And then on the way back, and I was really tired, we stopped at the Burn in Naples. And
Ooh,
that was a tough trip because, driving from Miami to Tampa, then back to Miami. But we took the time to stop at Burn for like a couple hours, and that was awesome because those are three big cigar cities. I mean, I don't know if you still live in Naples, but I know you worked in Naples for a period of time.
mhm.
I think Naples is definitely a great place to stop and have a cigar. And I think that what Rocky's done there as far as making that a destination, it's fantastic. But if you can do
Yeah,
Miami, Naples, and Tampa in one day, that is just so
yeah,
awesome.
that's cool. That is cool. I agree. You're right. I think I haven't quite done that, but I've definitely done quite a few different destinations in one day around Florida. Then Florida is definitely a place you can get around pretty quickly. I like that part about it. We could visit a lot of great places. All right, if you could choose one family on any TV show, which family would you choose to be a part of?
Oh, definitely the bunkers because I could smoke a cigar at the dining room table at the bunker. And I've been known to do that in my house, and my kids thought it was this foreign thing. So I didn't even realize it had happened, but I'm just showing them all in the family. Like this is how shows used to be, where people would talk about issues, but they were still families.
Mhm.
And there he is, Carol O'Connor, smoking a cigar at the dining room table while they're eating dinner. And I said, "Look, your dad's not the only one that does that, you know." And I don't know if other people do that, but my parents smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day growing up. They put you in the car with no air conditioning and shut the windows and smoke cigarettes. It's who I am, and I personally love to have a cigar in my mouth while I'm cooking and preparing a meal. And I don't always smoke a cigar at the dinner table, but I thought it was great to see that all in the family and show my kids that their dad's not a Martian. That's just how things used to be. That people smoke cigars. It's not like the end of the world. And I don't know. My kids might need lots of therapy down the road, but I definitely want to smoke with Archie Bunker and tell him how wrong he was. But I love that show because they would discuss very polarizing issues back then, and they weren't afraid, and they were not in a culture like we are today where people can't talk about things. And I think that that's the great thing about cigars. You should be able to talk about important issues, and you may not necessarily agree with people you're talking to. That's okay. It's okay to have open and free discord, because the thing that kills creativity in a company, that kills the society, in my opinion, is consensus. Oh, let's all
Yeah,
get along, let's all agree, let's not deal with the tough issues. And I think one of the challenges in our country, whether you're left or right or in the middle, is there are real issues facing our country, and we need to have the will as people to discuss those issues and figure out solutions. And our country's done that in the past, and right now things are very polarized. And I think that most people, when you talk to them, whether they're a Democrat or Republican or conservative or liberal or moderate, most people are generally in favor of having bridges that don't collapse. They're generally in favor of being able to get a job. They're generally in favor of people being able to have a home. They're generally in favor of people being nice to each other and having a community. And I think that our country is not what it used to be in that regard. And I think a lot of this people just they don't want to speak up, or if they do, they want to do it in social media where no one can respond to them and they're going to say something mean. So I'd say that the death of civility. Growing up at a time that I did, where if you said something really obnoxious, you probably get punched in the face. So I think that we need to have more civility. That people from different belief systems and different opinions, they can disagree, but they can do it in a rational way that brings about positive change for our country. And I think that'd be a good
yeah,
thing.
yeah. We've got to build each other up instead of tearing each other down for sure. That way, was it J Star Wars or Trek? Which would you rather watch, Star Wars or Trek?
Even though they've
Star
ruined
Trek.
it the last few years, I am definitely a hardcore Doctor Who fan. I like Star Wars. I thought the first 3 movies were great. The next 3 movies were not as great because they took themselves too seriously, but the last trilogy was so bad it makes the prequels look good. And I love Star Trek. I've watched all of Voyager, which I think that's my favorite series, and I like Discovery. So between those two, I would say Star Trek, but I'm definitely a Doctor Who fan all the way, going back to the 1963. A huge Doctor Who fan.
Oh my gosh. So, how many shows of the Professor Show have you watched?
I know at one time it was almost every day.
Yeah, it was.
During COVID, I would say when they were every day, I probably watched 70% of them because I was the only one working in my store at the time. But for the weekly ones, either live or on playback, I've probably seen 90% of them. I don't see all of them. I'm going to sound like a heathen when I say this, but like last week, I missed part of the show because I was watching football. But usually I'll go back and rewind and try to watch all of it. I love the Professor Show. It's just, it's during football time, so that's tough. So sometimes I'll replay on it.
What's your favorite? Who's been your favorite guest that we've had so far, or your favorite episode?
I really liked there are 2 of them. I liked the George Brightman one, and I really liked Pete Johnson. I have to admit though that I'm biased because if I'm not smoking a Fuente, I'm probably smoking a Tatuai. In fact, when I got on the show, I was smoking a Kruger. Pete Johnson is one of my favorite people. He's a leader in our industry, very down to earth guy. And I enjoy Pete's story. And Pete really earned his way in the industry. He didn't just start making cigars. He was somebody who enjoyed cigars. He worked in the industry, started Augusta Smoke Shop. And I really liked learning more about Pete. And I think that's probably why I like the George Brightman show, because George knows everything. He's the professor. Sorry, Jose. Knows a lot about cigars, but also just to hear a lot of the ideas and things that he's done. That was pretty fascinating. But if I had to choose one show, it'd probably the Pete Johnson show.
Yeah, that's awesome. I agree. That was a great show. He did great. All right, so let them tell them where they can find your shop and maybe where they can find your website and any information else they need to know.
Well, my website was clearly made in the 1980s because if you go there, it doesn't do anything for you, and it hasn't been updated in like 8 years. So my website's terrible.
Oh my God, I can help you with that.
The best way to reach me is just DM me on Facebook or on Instagram. We're blue_smoke_Dallas, or on Facebook, J.R. Davis. Don't friend J. Robert Davis. That's only for like the people I'm related to or people like Andy Schwartzman I've known forever. Our shop, we're located in Dallas, right near Love Field. So we're at 4560 West Mockingbird Lane. If you're familiar with Dallas, we're on Mockingbird between the Tollway and Love Field. And the best way to reach me, like I said, is just message me. We chose, the dinosaur in me, we chose not to have an active website, and we ship all over the country, but I'm going to talk to you one-on-one, and we're going to determine what it is that you want to get. And I lose some sales for that. I've had guys tell me that, hey, if I can't order cigars from you at 4:00 in the morning, my underwear, I'm not going to order it. And because at 4:00 in the morning, you're probably not wearing underwear. But this is PG ready, right? But no, I mean, I want to have a personal relationship with people, and I want to talk to them about what they're going to get. And I always try to provide people with good service and with a fair price. I always want to consider what I paid for it. I don't need to get rich off of any one particular transaction. And I think people that have done business with me will echo that.
I like it. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much again for joining us. I am going to sign off. So all of you, I'm about to lose a battery, so I wish I could stay here all night. But have you tried the Cigar Fanatics? The cigar bar, is it called the zoomcigarbar.com? So if you guys are...
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'll probably be in there later. I'll pop in. So if you guys don't know, go check out zoomcigarbar.com. It is a fabulous place to hang out on Friday nights. There's usually lots of great people in there, and sometimes the Fuente family jumps in to say hi as well. So thanks for everybody for joining for so long. It's like a 2-hour show.
And you have to give yourself a promo. If you're a cigar company and you want Melanie to talk about your products and your goods, what's the best way to contact Melanie Cisco?
Oh, absolutely. You can email me at lilciscokid.com lilciscokid@gmail.com. And then you can also DM me on any one of these platforms here. This is my profile page if you're watching it here. Also, Lil Cisco Kid 21 is my Instagram. You guys can DM me there as well. But yes, also thank you, Jay. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Melanie. You have a great night.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night, everybody. Smoke some Fuente and happy Fuente Friday.
Bye-bye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.